Hello, magical creatures, and welcome back to Around the Cauldron. If you're new here, welcome to Season 3, Episode 4. Hi, I'm Zachariah the Witch, your host. I don't know who that was. Friends, if you could be so kind and rate this podcast if you're listening using Apple, Spotify, whichever, or any streaming service, it really helps. And I'm going to move on from that now. Hello and welcome to a new episode, and to all my witches that observe. It is Imbolc, or St. Brigid's Day, or the Day of Torches, or the coming of the sun, or the light, also known as the halfway point between winter and spring here in the Northern Hemisphere, February 2nd, 2023. And I wanted to talk about all the magic behind Imbolc. So, getting into this right away, if you're new to the craft, if you're on your year and a day, if you're committing yourself to some type of practice, a lot of the esbats or sabbats or sabbaths, as some people call them, can be high points of magical implementation, meditation, crafting, building an altar, dedicating yourself, formulating a new coven, joining a coven. They all have significant moments, but remember, just like all other earth-based magical practices, I don't know why I said but just like all other magical practices that focus on the seasons, this is a time of healing, a time of restoration, a time of honoring the goddess who went through all that she went through and her archetypal energy. This is also the time where the goddess has given birth to the god, and then, of course, she needs to rest and restore. So that's the first part I think about when it comes to Imbolc. I think of the time where our intuition, our hypervigilance, our self-awareness kind of needs to take a break for a second. And then we need to focus on our inspiration, because that's what the god is, right? The god represents newness, brightness, prosperity. But at this time, the god is still a baby, a young toddler, a teen. He grows very quickly. And he's very mercurial. He's very full of energy. And so the focus can be related to the element of fire, lights, illumination. And then, of course, other things about fire, lights, candles. Those are all nuanced. So this is a great time, like I said, for initiation, dedication, and year-long spell craftings to begin. So around this time as well, I don't know if you've seen it, depending on where you live, there might still be snow on the ground. It might be melting sometimes. There might be weird forms of precipitation now. But this is where we begin to see the first signs of spring. And then there are obviously multiple forms of precipitation, like we might get weird rain or hail or sleet. Here in California, we got an enormous amount of rain, trillions of tons of rain. It's crazy. And so to honor this day, as you progress toward the full wolf moon of the month, which is on February 24th, you should find completion through your intentions at the beginning here, which is today. So craft, make bundles, candles, scents, oils, be inspired. And if you wish to honor some old ways of celebrating, at night, after you've done your rituals or given your thanks or changed your altar, whatever it is that you do today, it's great to also go around your home and light a candle in every room after sunset to honor the birth of the god. And of course, please don't leave a candle unattended. That's just ignorant. So if you do want to go deeper into this Sabbath, there are so many variations of it with the Celtic, the Irish, the Christian, the non-Christian. Almost most of the Sabbats are rooted in eclectic teachings that are from Wicca, which is very modern, and a lot of modern witchcraft in general. So I recommend pulling out your books. One of the books that I pulled out today, you can hear those pages. One of the books that I pulled out today that I referenced for this specific podcast was Wicca by Scott Cunningham, and it's a guide for the solitary practitioner. Cunningham is a great author, has published several works that are focused on earth-based magic. I know there's some controversy because he's also borrowed a lot of things from other cultures, which is another point I wanted to bring up today. Today I focused on thanking my goddess, my ancestors, clearing out my altar, and then of course the little things that I do in my practice, like burning certain types of herbs, cinnamon, juniper, lavender. But then I also do things like getting cornmeal, getting things that are associated with my lineage, my family. I said some personal prayers, changed my altar candle. And I'm so thankful that, yes, there's been a lot of rain. I'm thankful that I'm still here, that I have my health. And there's other things that you can throw in on this day. But what I was mentioning is why I wanted to bring up borrowing and adopting folk magic or rituals from other folks if you're not from those people. February 1st is when we start Black History Month. And for those of you who know me, I have been, I guess at times, more outspoken than my fellow white people about certain social and political issues, especially within the magical circles. I'm not claiming to be the leader. I'm not trying to separate myself from anyone by saying that. But what I'm saying is I have met a lot of adversarial, sometimes backlash. I've had people unfollow me because maybe my opinions have been too aggressive about taking ownership and accountability for acknowledging that the root of a lot of what we do comes from the indigenous people of several countries, as well as the traditional magical practices of oral traditions that have been passed down over and over again. I do have some of my own within my family that have carried over from the little bit of my Native American blood that I have, which again, I don't claim ownership of that entirely because I have lived a very privileged life as a white person. So for me to sit here and be like, yeah, you guys, I'm like so-and-so quarter 16th something Cherokee, it's like, shut up, Zachariah. So, there's a lot of, there's a lot that goes into this time of the year. And unfortunately, after so many centuries of oppression and erasure of not only Black and brown people, but indigenous bodies and voices and stories, we get this month. And I celebrate it. I applaud it. I'm so grateful when I see my Black friends filled with joy and they're doing the things that they want to do. But it's all so heavy in the spiritual world. Because think of all those spirits and those souls that have been just taken. The sons and the daughters, the mothers and the fathers. Some that were never given a chance to even be born. And I know that that's starting out this episode with a bit of a heavier type of energy. But I just want to tell you, if you are a magical practitioner, if you're a witch, if you're a medium, if you're a psychic, which, yeah, we're not all the same. We all do different things. I think there's a level of ethics, a level of morals and obligations that we have to look out for each other. And so if you have the ability this month, look out for your fellow person next to you, in front of you, around you. If you see something, say something. We are the people who create the change. That's what witches do, isn't it? We bend and manipulate and force the universe and the laws of it to our will. And so I'm at a loss for words. Every time I get to this topic, I think of when I was a child, of when I grew up around a variety of races or ethnicities, of cultures, going from Florida to Ohio to Michigan and across the country in my teens, in my late 20s, and having so many friends and so much diversity. But then when I entered this community and became a full-fledged witch and I started coming out of the broom closet, I've seen a lot of separation and division, And it's not just on skin color, you guys and gals, and they and thems. It's also in the queer side of things, the LGBTQIA plus community. There's a lot that we still need to learn. And I'm one of those people. I am still learning every day. And I'm sure that me sitting here talking about this is going to offend somebody. Somebody's going to tell me I need to stop virtue signaling, or someone's going to tell me that They use my podcast to escape, which, by the way, I was on a podcast one time and I talked about some of this stuff and they told me to stop talking about it because people use shows like theirs to escape from reality. Isn't that what TV and movies are for? But then isn't art also supposed to be a reflection of the times that we live in? Am I wrong? And I had a whole other script written out, and I had a whole other plan about how I was going to go about doing this podcast today. But Spirit said, no, Zechariah, no. Talk about Imbolc, and then talk about Black History Month. Talk about how much you love and appreciate the people in your life that have shown you magic. You know, I have people I can shout back to from Arizona, like Miss Danita, who was a conjure woman, who gave me one of the best readings I've ever had in my entire life. She's an amazing woman who happens to be African American, and she follows the roots and traditions of her life and her family. I've met several indigenous people along my path, people from Navajo Nation, from the Cherokee Nation, people who have taught me the medicines, people who have given me the honor of sitting in and listening, people who have shown me medicines from South America, who have talked to me about their culture, their upbringing, the stories of their people, the times of creation. I hold those so close to my heart, and I am so grateful every day. Because through the journey of my own sobriety, through the journey of my own self-discovery, healing, repair, restoration, following the cycles of the god and the goddess, figuring out how to be a better person, I go back to the teachings that I was given. My Uncle Larry, Silent Crow, who died in 2016, who taught me about creating a circle of cornmeal, who told me about the 4 directions, who told me how to offer somebody's spirit back to the wind when they pass. These are things that I will never forget, but I have to remember that they came from other cultures, they came from other places in time, they came from people who dealt and fought through hardship. And even now, when I think of some of the ancestors I have whose names I don't even know, how many other invisible people exist, especially those who are a different skin color. So for those of you that are like, ugh, God, is he going to stop being serious? No, it's a part of my craft. My craft is to try to help people heal, to help them feel seen. And that's never going to change. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to change how I go about doing it. Every year on Thanksgiving, I'm going to donate money to the causes that say, fuck you, Christopher Columbus. Fuck you, Thanksgiving. You know, fuck you, colonizers. And every year where I can do advocacy work, where I can march with people, where I can sign petitions, where I can send an email to my congressperson, where I can make a difference by voting, I will continue to do so. And I will continue to encourage my fellow witches, my fellow magical creatures to do the same. We need to stop being silent, and we need to continue to raise our voices, to put those candles on that altar, and to fuck with the system that is broken, because it's only serving one type of person. Fuckity fuck, fuck, fuck. It's just like so much to unlearn and unpack, and we're doing it. And I'm proud of those of you that are holding yourselves accountable to do better than your ancestors did. And I'm proud of those of you who are just opening your eyes and ears to the idea that we didn't just magically get to where we are because people are mad. There's been a lot of hurt and some really, really rotten roots in the world. And it's time to snap out of it. It's time to rip up those roots, rebuild, repair, forgive. Now I feel better. So, aside from Imbolc, you know, I want to move on to the next segment of the show And we're just going to dive right into some listener questions. So now it's time for...
It's question time.
Thank you to my backup singers for that beautiful transition. First up, we have a question from Instagram. This was sent via a voice memo to my account, which is, by the way, you should be following me at Zachariah the Witch on Instagram, at Zachariah the Witch on TikTok, and go to my website, zachariahthewitch.com, to book time with me. Yes, here's the question.
Hi. How often should I do the spells for the money or the abundance? Is it better to write my own or to pay someone to do them for me or maybe read them from a book?
As much as I would love that to be a real person, that was my friend Roy. He'll be doing some of the questions in different voices for this episode, maybe to give some levity to the heaviness of the beginning of it. Now, this question has been asked of me before, and I have received it via my contact form on my website. And the plain answer, long and short, is there is no cutoff. There might be some better moments to do spells for abundance, prosperity, to make wishes come true, for financial freedom. A lot of people, well, I don't say a lot of people, most of us will focus on times of the lunar cycles and types of ingredients and the time, the setting, the place. But my rule of thumb is do what is most accessible to you. And this reminds me of the previous episode where we talked about meditation and utilizing a chant, a mantra, a phrase. Sometimes the simplest ways to bring in abundance could be lighting the same candle for a few days and saying the same phrase or prayer or 3-line poem that makes you envision yourself within that level of success or prosperity. So I don't think there's any more power or validity to having someone else do it either, because I've had people reach out to me. They want me to do a love spell for them or a money spell for them. And oftentimes I will just send them back information about how to do their own. I've even gifted people a spell kit that I've made myself to just show them, like, it's better if you do it sometimes because you're the one that is really invested in this. Not to say that, I won't do it, but I really see the value in using magic by your own means. So for your question, let's just call you Klaus. For your question, Klaus, there is no right or wrong way, and there's no difference between reading a spell from out of a book versus making up your own. A lot of it has to focus on the intention, the ingredients, the time, and the place. And some people who are more modern will say you don't even need all those things. There's a lot of people who are just all about the law of attraction, and I've seen it be effective in a lot of their lives. So everybody's magic is different, but if it feels right to you, if it seems right to you, if you're seeing good results from it, then it's probably right for you. Yeah. Thanks for your question. I feel like that went by really fast, but we're going to come to the end of this episode. Next week, it's going to be a little more composed, a little more curated, a little more following the script, but I had to honor and be conscious of what Spirit led me to talk about, and I'm grateful that I did. And I'm grateful for all of you that put up with it and listened, and I'm grateful for the one question that I did answer. If you would like to send in a question or have me answer it on the show, be sure to go to my website, zachariahthewitch.com, or you can do what Roy did. Go to Instagram, follow me, and then send me a voice memo. Yeah, I'm going to hear your voice coming out of the speakers or in my headphones or wherever, and then I'm going to talk back at you. Isn't that terrifying? Anyway, please be kind, open your eyeballs, give back to your community, help those that you can, tip this witch, like, comment, subscribe, all those stupid things, okay? But I think you're all wonderful, and I'm so grateful for you. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely Imbolc, and don't forget to blow out your candles, magical creatures. Bye!